Live from Las Vegas, it is the Pony Pundits for Friday, September 25th. I'm your host, Marco D'Angelo. You can follow me on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. And, of course, you can check out our good buddy, our co-host here on the show each week. He is none other than getting Ziggy with Sig Las Vegas. You can follow him on Twitter. Sig, how are things going today with you? We took the week off last week. Sorry, guys. Just was not a real big week last week with the stakes action. And, truth be told, I wore Sig out while he was here in Vegas, and we needed to, turn him out for a week and, let him run in the field and frolic. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, Marco. And you know what? After going through this pick four last night, I kind of wish you would have skipped this week too.
Well, you know what? Speaking of the pick four, before we move on to today's show, Sig, last time we were on the air, the pick fours, and I say pick fours in plural. You want to explain what happened last time we were on the show?
It's been a few weeks, but last time I remember, we had a horse scratch out. And we were at church. We were Churchill. No, we were at Kentucky Downs.
Kentucky Downs. Yes, that's correct.
Kentucky Downs. We had a horse scratch out, and we both ended up nailing that pick four twice. The late scratch got us the post-time favorite. I believe the tickets were over $600. So
for
those investors who invested, congratulations.
For the what ended up being four winning tickets, two for each of us. Yeah, totaled over $600. Nice little profit for people that watch the show, and glad that we could help out with everybody. You might see I'm a little wired today. It's football season. Sig, you got to experience a few weeks here at Casa D'Angelo here in Vegas, and when all these sports are going at one time, it is freaking crazy, my man.
It's been a crazy month. I mean, between the NFL kicking off, some college football, some more coming soon, NBA playoffs, NHL Stanley Cup right now. Then we had the Kentucky Derby. There's just so much going on, UFC, and guys, Wager Talk covers it all for you.
Yes, shameless time for me to put a plug in for, the show I do every Wednesday with Kelly Stewart and Gianni, the Greek gambler. Bet on it. That is our flagship show at Wager Talk, not just because I'm on it, but that is the one that really started all of the, the other shows that we've spun out of, and shows like this one right here, the Pony Pundits. And we want to tell people to, head over to Wager Talk. Doesn't matter what sport it is. We've got a show for you. We cover it all, from boxing, MMA, UFC, soccer, golf, NASCAR, you name it. And of course, all the staples, the major sports, and we got the horses covered too. Some might say sometimes, buy a pair of horses patooties, but you know what? Hey, it is what it is. Sega, also this week for me, sent you you can't say I didn't give you the heads up, but I didn't give you the exact in that one because I didn't have it either. The longest shot in the race ran second, but my horse, Sin City Lori, won on Wednesday. The race was originally scheduled for Tuesday and got carried over to Wednesday. Nice win in our good buddy, Mr. Jeff Ziddick, the track announcer at the Meadows, who's been on the Pony Pundits many times. Gave her the big call in the last turn as she was last throughout the race, and she went into the turn worst and came out of the turn and on top of the field. He gave her the big worst to first call, and she drew off for a nice win for her. So good week for me that way. And how was your week, buddy?
My week's been pretty uneventful ever since this COVID quarantine shutdown started. I'm still just looking to fill my days.
Yeah, well, we filled them when you were out here. We had nonstop action for your couple weeks here, and hopefully we'll see you back out here for the Breeders' Cup. The Breeders' Cup will be the first weekend in November, and Breeders' Cup this year is where at?
My favorite track, Keeneland.
I know it. You know what? If you don't make it out here, somehow you should sneak down to Lexington and see if you can hang out somewhere and see the races. But I hope you make it out here for the Breeders' Cup. All right, let's get into news and notes, Sig. A lot of stuff going on. Final leg of the Triple Crown will be held in just what was, a year that everybody wants to forget, 2020. And unfortunately, I got to say it, the Preakness is going to be forgotten this year. It's going to be basically almost an afterthought as far as the landscape of, horse racing, because it's buried in the middle of, it's going to be October. You're talking college football. The playoffs are going to be going on, NBA finals. You'll have baseball there's no Triple Crown. They can, I'm sure Belmont's sitting there saying, see how we feel whenever there's no Triple Crown coming. And we're in the middle of summer when we don't have anything to compete with. Good luck, Preakness. It'll be the worst ratings as far as TV goes for the Triple Crown races. What are your thoughts? And I know you got a lot to say as we're going to take a little preview on the Preakness.
Oh, Marco, it's still a prestigious event. Yes, we don't have a Triple Crown candidate this year. Yes, it's the first Saturday in October, which sounds really weird to say. But, I mean, it is the Preakness. There's 2 days a year that I handicap Pimlico. Thank God. They're usually the Friday and Saturday of Preakness weekend. With the Black Eye Susan on Friday, the Preakness, and a bunch of other stakes races on Saturday. I'll have that for you guys next weekend. But wanted to give you guys a preview of who we know or who we believe is going to Pimlico next weekend for the Preakness. No Triple Crown candidate, as we discussed. Tiz the Law won the Belmont back in June. We all watched Authentic win the Kentucky Derby back in September. But one of the things we didn't know on the show the week after the Kentucky Derby is, and we talked about this a couple times before, Authentic won the Haskell back at Monmouth in July. And if you guys remember, we told you that they were offering a $1 million bonus to any horse that wins the Haskell, the Kentucky Derby, and the Breeders' Cup Classic. So far, Authentic has won the Haskell and won the Kentucky Derby. He's in line for that $1 million bonus from Monmouth Park if he is able to capture the Breeders' Cup Classic. But before he does that, he has to take a trip to Baltimore and Pimlico Racetrack next weekend. He will be your favorite here. And I think Bob Baffert's looking to at least get 2 of the 3 legs of this Triple Crown, and before they even consider what they're going to do with the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Whenever we talked about that way back, when they did the Haskell, I'm saying, like, you never ever would see, a horse race in those 3 races generally, just because of the timing and so forth. And it's worked out for Authentic. And again, we talked about it after the Derby. Bob Baffert started the season. Authentic was his first, real horse that got buzz early on. And then he got taken all the way back, to almost next to last on the depth chart when all the other horses made their names for themselves. But unfortunately, due to injuries, it came down to he had 2 left. And we talked about it. 1,000 Words, flipped over in the paddock and had to be a scratch. And he was down to, as we like to say, his last bullet. And it fired, and it fired big. And now if he can get that $1 million bonus on top of that, quite a feather in Bob Baffert's cap for sure. What else do you got for us as we lead into the Preakness next week?
Well, just some of the other probables that we're looking at here. Art Collector, who unfortunately had to miss the Kentucky Derby after winning the Bluegrass of Keeneland and the Ellis Park Derby, took a small hoof injury in training the week leading up to the Kentucky Derby. He was not able to race, but he is healed enough and back on the track, and they will have him entered here for trainer Tom Drury. He should attract some interest at the betting windows.
I was going to get some betting interest at the windows in the Kentucky Derby from yours truly. That was a horse that I was very high on. So obviously I'll be looking at his works, his final works leading up to the Preakness.
Also probable, and the only horse that's going to compete in all 3, it looks like, legs of the Triple Crown this year is Max Player, trained by Steve Asmussen now. He finished 3rd in the Belmont Stakes, 5th in Kentucky Derby. I'm sure he's going to see some action at the windows. I just don't think that this horse has what it takes to make it in front of, basically make it to the front of a real quality field yet. Does he have it down the road? Possibly. I mean, we saw horses like Gunrunner who weren't as successful at 3 that went on to have a great career at 4, 5, and 6. This might be one of those horses.
Just to throw out to you on this particular horse, Sig, he's what we like to refer to as a plotter, where, he's going to come at the end and pick up some pieces. He's always getting checks for his connections. That's something I like as an owner. But this is the shortest of the 3 legs of the Triple Crown. What are your thoughts on the distance with him cutting back with a horse that comes from behind? He's going to need a little quicker pace to make it up. Do you think his style hurts him here?
I'm not sure his style is going to hurt him here. I'm not really sure until we see the draw and who actually makes it to the starting gate next week. It is a 14-horse field. There possibly are more than 14 horses right now that may enter. The draw is on Monday, I believe, at noon at Pimlico for the starting gate. So we'll have a better idea who's in the field there. But I think as long as the jock and Santana's on him now, I think Santana has a good feel for him. And even though it's a shorter race, if he knows when to go and he gets a good setup up front on the pace, I think he'll know when the time the fire is.
Who else you got?
Let's see. Country Grammar, who skipped, who actually finished in the Travers in 5th and then skipped the Kentucky Derby, is going to give Chad Brown his next attempt at winning the Preakness. His last winner was Cloud Computing back in 2017. Mr. Big News, trained by Brett Calhoun, is probable, and he blew up almost all of my trifecta tickets. I'm pretty sure all of Marco's trifecta tickets, and probably most of your guys' trifecta tickets on Kentucky Derby Day. He won't be flying under the radar next Saturday, but will have his hoofs full with this field.
Nice little pun there. Bringing in the next horse that you're going to bring up, interesting horse. This is the horse I talked about just a couple minutes ago, the one that flipped over in the paddock. Tell us about 1,000 Words.
Average second entry in the Preakness this year is 1,000 Words, who unfortunately made it all the way to the paddock at Churchill Downs for Kentucky Derby Day, and with like less than a half hour before post time, unfortunately flipped in the paddock. Was an automatic scratch for that reason. Thankfully, the horse was not injured in the mix-up, basically, and he is going to take a shot here at winning the Preakness next weekend. The Share Belief winner definitely has a chance. He definitely should adjust the pace a little bit, I think, in the race. I think one of the big reasons Authentic had so quote-unquote easy in the Derby was that most of the pace in that race scratched out. We lost King Guillermo early in the week. We lost 1,000 Words in the paddock. I think that race could have played out a lot differently if a couple other horses had made the starting gate on Kentucky Derby Day, but we'll see next week what happens.
Next one up. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Steve Asmussen actually has 3 horses that should see the starting gate on Preakness Day. The next, and one of the most interesting ones to me, is Pneumatic. He's lightly raced, and like I said, he's the most interesting horse in the field. It's only going to be his 5th career start, and he's raced well against good company. He won the Pegasus at Monmouth back in August. He finished 4th in the Belmont Stakes, and he finished 3rd in the Matt Winn. Those were all quality fields. While most eyes are going to be on Max Player out of the Asmussen barn, I think Pneumatic has a chance to surprise next week, but we'll get into that next week when we cover the Preakness in depth. And
definitely if we get an honest pace, because this is a horse, much like Max Player, will come later, but he's got, I don't have the past race lines in front of me, Sig, but I remember this horse had a little more tactical speed where he could get a better position to make that jump on the leaders. This definitely is a horse that when we get to next week and we talk about lightly raced 3-year-olds and have a license to jump, you're going to hear that phrase with me on Pneumatic for sure.
All right. In the third of the Asmussen entries, and the one that actually is probably the biggest thing, but is Accession. Accession hasn't raced since he runner-up finished to Nadal in the Rebel at Oaklawn back in March. He's been working well for the past month, but it seems rather ambitious to place him in here against grade 1 competition after a 6-month layoff. But sometimes those are the horses that blow up tickets and blow up payouts on big days like Preakness Day.
Sig, do you remember his racing style? Again, I don't have the racing lines on that particular horse right now.
I honestly don't. Yeah, I don't have them in front of me either. I remember he gave Nadal a pretty good race in the Rebel. It just seems like odd to me that they're bringing him into a big race like the Preakness off of 6 months.
Could I play devil's advocate and say Rabbit? That would definitely set up the other Asmussen horses.
We'll definitely set them up.
All right.
We'll have to wait and see. There's a couple of other probables in the field. Jesus's team, Live Your Beast Life, and Happy Saver. And there's 2 possible entrants that are interesting. NY traffic, New York traffic, Nye traffic, however the hell you want to pronounce it. He's still looking for his first stakes win, but he has raced in some pretty good against some pretty good competition. He finished 8th in that Kentucky Derby, finished 2nd to Authentic in the Haskell, finished 2nd in the Mount Wynn, the Maxfield, and finished 2nd in the Louisiana Derby to a name we haven't mentioned in a while, Wells Bayou. You guys know I was high on NY New York, Nye traffic, leading up to the Kentucky Derby. I like his running style, but I think he may be in the second tier of this year's crop of 3-year-olds. And the other possible entrant is the filly. Swiss Skydiver is still a possible entrant in the Preakness here. May take another shot at the boys. Remember, she finished 2nd to Art Collector in that Bluegrass Stakes, where she took him to the lead and had him pretty much to the top of the stretch before Art Collector took over. But she was strong enough to hold on for 2nd. She was upset in the Kentucky Oaks by She Dares the Devil. But if the connections with Kenny McPeak and the owners decide that she's good to go for the Preakness, I would expect a big effort out of her. They won't send her unless she's ready.
I will agree with that, but me as the owner, not winning the Kentucky Oaks, I would keep her in with the fillies and not make this move. It would have been something to consider had she won the Kentucky Oaks. I would have felt differently, but no. And anybody else in this one?
So far, that's the only ones I'm hearing about so far. But I mean, we can always get an entry right up until the deadline on Monday.
Unfortunately, I didn't hear you say one particular horse in this Preakness lineup. Where's Tis the Law?
Tis the Law. The connections decided that they were going to skip the Preakness and train right up to the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Yeah, and that's a change, change of direction, because after the race, the owner of, was it Sakatoga Stables or with the guys, he's very Sakatoga, and he is very vocal, and he does like the camera in front of him. Who doesn't? I mean, come on, we all like that. But when asked about going to the Preakness or the Breeders' Cup, he said, well, we're looking at both. And the trainer had already said he was leaning the other way going to the Breeders' Cup. And the famous words, well, the owner owns the horse. Guess didn't work out. I mean, the owner's not sending him to the Preakness. And trust me, that would be the trainer telling him the right thing to do, which probably is. It's been a long campaign, because we did talk about Tis the Law. He's the one horse that was on the Kentucky Derby trail the entire time of, from the normal schedule to everything getting moved back. So it's been a long year. He hasn't had a lot of races because they spaced them out for him pretty good, but you still had to keep him in race shape for all year long. So this is the right move. Get him, a little breather, freshen him up, and then take your shot at the Breeders' Cup in November. Sig, anything else for us before we dig into race of the day?
That is it for Preakness news. We'll have it covered in depth for you guys next Friday, but let's get on to race of the day.
All right, and that race of the day is the Vosburgh Stakes at Belmont Park. That is race number 9 on Saturday, and it will be part of our free pick 4 that we will get to after we break down this one in detail. We'll come back and give you our selections for the pick 4. As Sig said, this wasn't an easy pick 4 to come up with. Now, the feature race of the day, Sig, it's only got 6 horses, but this is a very good race, and we're going to go through the field. I'll start right off with number 1, True Timber, 9-2 on the morning line. This is a horse got Kendrick Carmuse on to ride. Third start off the layoff. I will give him the positive there. I do like horses with this, form cycle. This is when you're going to get the best out of him. But I got to ask, is the best enough in this field? He's got 2 third-place finishes the last 2 races. What do you say about True Timber?
True Timber's a 6-year-old who's enjoyed, it seems so far, the switch back to a sprint distance. They had him routing for a long time. He has the 2 third-place finishes, the Keeneland Allowance, and then the Forego, which was a pretty good field at Saratoga, and that was a sloppy track. I think he's going to relish the distance here. Got an aggressive rider in Carmouche. He's going to fly out to the gate and try to get to the lead, I think. And this horse has some talent. They've got him in the Pegasus World Cup the past 2 years. So, I mean, they don't enter him there without thinking he has a shot. So, I mean, this is a talented horse. Maybe getting a little too old, though, but the shorter distance, if he can get to the front and just keep going, that's what Carmouche is going to probably try to do. They may not catch him.
All right. I can't disagree with you. I like the form cycle. As I said, this is a horse, if you look at his card and go all the way down the list, Sig, he's danced all of the dances. There are tons of graded stakes on there, several grade 1 stakes. So, this is a horse that's raced against a lot of big name competition. I see a lot of maximum securities in the past performance lines as well. So definitely a horse to be considered in here. The next horse, number 2, is 5-2. It's got Joel Rosario up. Funny guy. And this is something that anybody that would look at our text on a given week back and forth, I probably send back to you at least 5 times a week. Yeah, funny guy. And that was being very sarcastic. So what do you say, funny guy, about funny guy?
I like funny guy in this spot here, Marco. Joel Rosario's riding for John Terranova. He won his first 2 starts this year before a 4th-place finish in the aforementioned Forego. That was a very sloppy track, remember? He's been working really well and has one of the best jockeys on the New York circuit in Rosario. He should make a good closing kick here with a jockey that has a knack for knowing just when to tell the horse he needs to go. So I think funny guy's got a big shot here.
He's got a big shot if they go good fractions here. He is going to be sitting off the pace. Having the 2 posts is going to be down inside. He's either going to have to find an opening late, Sig, or take the old wide trip in that last turn when he's closing. So this one is one of those ones where I joke all the time. I wish I could bet it the quarter pole because I would tell you if the front end is going to be good or we're going to be looking for a closer. But it's a 6-horse field. I like the 2, but I got to narrow it down. And when we get to what we're using in this race, I can only use so many horses because I think there's other races that we need to go deeper in. So I had to narrow the field. I would not be surprised if he pulls the upset. No, not an upset because he's 5-2, but I had to pitch somebody, and you'll see he didn't make the ticket, but he definitely has a big shot. Number 3 is Stan the Man. Stan the Man, 8-1. He's got Johnny V up. Velquez. Sorry. You got me there. I'm all tongue-tied today. And 8-1 coming from post 3. This is another horse, just like the last horse that we talked about, funny guy. He's going to be subject to the pace, in my opinion. Where do you see Stan the Man in this one?
He is a big closer here, and while he won his last outing in the Tail of the Cat at Saratoga at this distance, I don't think he's fast enough to compete with this field. He definitely is he's a late runner, and he would need to take a large step forward here, I think, in order to be a factor. For me, Stan is not the man. He's a toss.
Yeah, he did have a good race. As you said, he won that last race, but that was much softer competition. If you go back to his stakes race, he did finish second with Firenze Fire, a horse we'll talk about. And that was, the horse only has 4 starts this season, That was his third start, so that was his best of the form cycle, but come up short in that one. So we look at this one in actually of the 4 starts, this is the third of the form cycle. I got to take that back. He raced in January and March and then took the break to June and August. So this should be the best of his 3, but even with that, I got to say, I agree with you. He doesn't show me the speed figures that's going to get him to this race. And if you look at the other horses in here, there are other horses that have raced against more stakes company, graded stakes than he has. So I'm going to look elsewhere. The next one, number 4, Share the Ride. Manny Franco up. How do you see this one? 6-1 on the morning line.
I am not really sure what the connections are trying to do here with this gelding. This is going to be his 5th start in the past 7 weeks, including 3 stakes races at Monmouth, and 2 of those races were over the turf. So, I mean, the course, I mean, you've talked about NFL running backs being run into the ground. They're running this horse into the ground, and I don't know what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, it's not that he's run bad. He's just asking too much of the animal, I think. He wired the field last out in the Mr. Prospector, but this was a much classier field than what he saw there. It's going to be his 3rd race in the month of September. And I think he's going to feel the effects of running that often. I don't think he's going to be a factor in here.
I agree with you completely, Sig. Move on to the next horse, Firenze Fire. 7-2, post position 5. This is a horse that you look at the horse, the last race, not good. Don't know what happened in there. This is a horse that lukewarm in the betting, went off 10-1. But you look at the past class of this horse, and you look at who he's raced against. This is a horse that you say, hey, you got to put him in this ticket here. I put him in by default. I had to pull the plug somewhere, as I told you on the earlier Horse Funny Guy. But Firenze Fire, Jose Lezcano aboard. If he's at his best and we go 2 and 3 back, especially the start 3 back in the grade 2, easy win. But I would have rather seen one of the Ortiz brothers on this one. How do you see Firenze Fire?
Marco, I have a love-hate relationship with this horse dating back a few years now. But I actually like him here in this spot on Saturday. He is going to be my pick. He was just edged out in this race last year by Imperial Hint, who was a really great sprinter. Since they moved him back in the spring from the Jason Service Barn due to Service's indictment on some federal charges regarding performance of his horses, he's moved to the Breen Barn. I think it's taken some time both for Firenze Fire and for trainer Kelly Breen to get a feel for each other. If you look at the back of the past couple running lines, he ran a 4th for them first out of the barn, came back, won at Belmont in the True North, ran a 4th. I'm tossing out that 11th in the Forgo. He doesn't like a sloppy track. If you go back and look at his running line, the 2 really poor races were over sloppy tracks. He doesn't like a sloppy track. That shouldn't be an issue here tomorrow. Pretty much he loves the 6 furlong distance. He likes Belmont, and he's going to be my pick in here. I like him here, and I'm going to use a few of my pick 4 because this is a quality field, but I do like Firenze Fire tomorrow to win the Vosburgh.
Yeah, and you talk about horses that do like tracks. 7 career starts over the Belmont Oval. He's got 4 wins out of 7 races there and a second. That's pretty good. Likes here. I can't disagree with anything you said on him. You'll see when we get to it. I have him on my ticket, but this is I looked elsewhere for my horse on top, and we go to the last horse in the field, and that is number 6, Engage. This is a horse picks up Jose Ortiz. Ortiz has ridden the horse a bunch in the past, did not ride him in his last start. That last start was November last year. This horse is going to have been off for 10 months. Sig, what are your thoughts on Engage? Always, dicey taking a horse first time off, a long layoff like that. And we look at the trainer, Steve Asmussen, when he does bring one back off of 6 months or more layoff, that first start back, he's got a win percentage of 15% and an in the money percentage of just 35%. But that encompasses all horses in his barn. I am sure those numbers are higher with stakes horses because it's a different type of prep in bringing a horse. If you're bringing him back and putting him in a graded stakes race, as opposed to maybe a horse that was off with an injury and he's racing in an overnight race where you might be racing him into shape. You don't want to take races out of him, training him down hard, so forth. So even though his numbers aren't as good as they would normally you would want to see with a horse in that category, I think that Asmussen will have him ready. What are your thoughts on Engage?
Well, Marco, everybody was expecting a Steve Asmussen runner in this race. That runner, though, was volatile. The freak sprinter basically got an injury and unfortunately was retired earlier this summer. He would have been the horse to beat in here, and I think at that point they realized they needed to send somebody to this race, and Engage was next man up in the barn. Engage, like you said, hasn't raced since last year's Breeders' Cup Sprint. He did finish fourth against a real quality field there. After that, they sent him to Saudi Arabia, and he was going to race at Maidan. Unfortunately, he experienced an undisclosed injury, and he would never raced while he was over there. They shipped him back. He had been on the show for a while. They had been working him, though, for about the past 6 weeks, and he's been working pretty well here, but I think it's rather ambitious to drop him right into a grade 2, even with his experience. And I think he's going to need to get a race under his belt before he's ready to fire a big one here. I am not using Engage on my tickets. He could blow it up. Yes, definitely could blow my ticket up. He's definitely a quality runner. He's the class of the field, but I'm taking a shot that he's going to need this race in order to get one under his belt before moving on to bigger and better things.
I can't disagree with what you're saying, Sig. I still think that if he is at 80%, 85%, I think he's good enough to go here. And I'm going to have him on my ticket. He's not going to, I have, as we talk about it, when we get to the other legs, I have a couple other horses that might blow my ticket up that I left off, but I'm not leaving this one off. I do have the 6 on my ticket. So without further ado, we might as well segue right into the pick 4. What I'll do, Sig, is we will go through the other 3 races. Tell me about your top horse, and if you have something to say about, a different horse that, maybe he's your second horse that you really considered putting on top, or if you left somebody out and you want to mention it, why, let's go ahead and do it. And let's start with race 7, Belmont Park. We've got, this is a regular race, 62.
Optional claimer.
Yeah, optional claimer. Always competitive races. Anything can happen here. Got a lot of horses changing barns and so forth, being claimed off the last race. People that race in New York, a lot of them might steal a horse out of Saratoga if somebody puts a horse in. Sometimes it's such a big deal to race at Saratoga and to get a win. Sometimes owners might, maybe drop a horse in class because they want to get their picture taken at Saratoga. And, well, you can do that, but you also might risk losing a horse if somebody wants to step in and think that horse is worth a much more. And there are a few horses like that in here. Curious to see where you went and how deep you're going in this optional claimer.
Marco, I did go deep in this leg, but I landed on a little bit of a longer shot here on top, and I'm hoping he can kick this ticket off on 9-2, the 10 horse. T Loves a Fight. Junior Alvarado's riding for Orlando Noda. While I'm not a huge fan of Alvarado, Noda had a very, very successful Saratoga meet, and I think that success is going to roll over here to this Belmont Fall meet. The 6-year-old gelding ran a dead heat in the Tail of the Cat that some of our Race of the Day winners are coming out of, and I think I love the 9-2 price to kick this thing off. I did go 5 deep here. I used the 7, the 5. I'm sorry, I went 4 deep. The 7, the 5, and the 9 here. I had been 5 deep, and I had to cut the ticket down. The other horse I wanted to mention in here is the 5, Hidden Scroll. This horse has issues, is the nicest way to put it. He started out his 2-year-old career as the next big thing. Came into his 3-year-old campaign and pretty much pooped the bed is the nicest way to say it, since we're on TV here. And then they couldn't figure out what to do with this horse. They tried to move him to the turf. His first race on the turf, he tossed the rider out of the gate. And I'm pretty sure if I remember that race correctly, he did cross the finish line first, just riderless. But this horse has talent. They just never got his head straight. So this horse definitely could come out, run a huge race, and basically blow this field away. Or he could toss the rider out of the gate and win the race without a rider and not win the race that way. But he's a horse that is an enigma, and he definitely can cause damage to this ticket. I had to use him, but you never know what you're going to get with Hidden Scroll. How'd you like this race, Marco?
Well, last night I sent you a picture of what I was doing. I had the racing form printed out, looking at the races for today. I was sitting in a bar watching the Thursday night football game, sweating my chubby little butt off because I had the under last night. We gave out Miami on the Bet On It show, and for my premium clients, we gave them the under for the game last night. And, well, it wasn't looking real good in the first half. We got there in the second half. Miami just, long drives and, just chewed up a lot of clock, and Jacksonville couldn't do anything. But I was working on this, and I sent you a text in between chicken wings. Said, I don't know what the hell to do with Hidden Scroll. I'm looking at this horse, and he's either a winner or a total pitch. I don't see this horse being second, third. He's either going to run away and win, or he's not going to be anywhere to be found. Truth be told, I had to make a decision, and this is a very competitive pick 4, and I wanted to have coverage elsewhere. I pitched him. Now, I will tell you when we get to the end, I will look at the tote board, and this will be the first leg of the pick 4. So it worked out for me that I can do that. If I see him taking a lot of money, that would mean the connections think they got it figured out. And he's 3-1 in the morning line. If this is a horse that gets bet down, south of that, I will probably use a saver ticket and use the rest of my pick 3, the other 3 races, with him on top as a single, just as a saver. It'd be a ticket that I think will come out to like $18 when we get to the end. That is only if I see him getting bet. If he's sitting at, north of the 3-1, then the connections are just like me, and they're scratching their head and they don't know what's what with them. So that's what I'm going to do. But as far as the race itself goes, I landed on the 7 for my top choice. Mount Travers. This is a horse, only 3 starts this year. 11 career starts, only a 4-year-old. This will be the 4th start of the year. The last start was the best start of the form cycle. That was start number 3. And if you look at it, he come flying, finished second by a nose in that race. The question is, and I know that's probably why not your top horse in this race, Sig, the question's going to be, he's making a little bit of a class jump in here, but I think he's good here. The 62.5 price tag, I do think fits. If you look at the 2 of the last 3 races on what he's done with speed wise, he's here. Overall, you look at his speed rankings to the rest of the field, not quite as good, but this is a horse that's coming in the right direction at the right time. And I like the fact that he picks up Ortiz for this one. Ortiz obviously had been on him in all of the other races, the last 3 races, so he knows the horse, and he sold on him. He stuck with him. I like Mount Travers for my top choice in this one. I'm going 7-1-9. Where are you going for yours again?
In race 7, I have the 10, the 7, the 5, and the 9.
All right, and I'll put all these graphics up in a moment. Going to the next race, race 8. This one is a $100,000 purse. We are a grade 3 stakes race here. The Noble Damsel. And where are you at in this one, and how deep are you looking?
Marco, I went 4 deep in here too. This is a quality field. My top choice is the 4 Blowout. John Velasquez is riding for Chad Brown. He was just caught at the wire last month at Saratoga in an allowance race, and that was the first race for this filly off a 10-month layoff. She should be ready to go with that start under her belt. She's working well, and Brown wins 24% of the time. Second start off a layoff of 6 or more months, and he's in the money 65% of the time. If you take a look at this horse's past running lines, 9 races, has never missed a board, 3 wins, 5 seconds, and a third. So, I mean, this horse is always there. But like I said, this is a quality field. I used a couple other Brown runners. I used the 1 Viadera, and I also used the 7 Nor Sahara, who's actually, I think, ready for a big race. And the 1 non-Brown runner I used was the 2 Sweet By and By. Third start for the barn after a training change this year. Finished third in her debut for that barn in the 5.5 furlong Caress at Saratoga. And then she followed it up with a win going a mile in an allowance. I think she prefers going longer, and she's going to like this distance here. She's hit the board in 9 of 10 turf attempts. So I think that's going to be a really competitive race, and I'm just hoping I handicapped it right.
All right. Well, we landed on the same horse on top. I am on Blowout as well. This is a horse, Chad Brown. If there's any trainer in the country that I have no problems jumping on with a lightly raced horse or first time out of the box, is a Chad Brown horse. And once again, as you said, right out of the gate after a long layoff from October of last year to August this year, they sent the horse down the road. It wasn't like, okay, let's get the horse an easy race and point to this stake race. They came flying right out of the gate, and the horse got beat, second by a neck. You can't fault anything in that first start. And that first speed figure puts that horse right here as the horse to beat. I agree with the 4. If I would have come close to singling a horse in today's pick 4, this would have been the horse I would have singled, Sig, if I wanted to get extra coverage in the other races. But I did go with 2 other horses here. We agreed on the 7. We both have him in our ticket. You spoke about him, Nor Sahara. This is a horse, again, third start off the layoff. I like that. And the final horse that I went with in this leg, I went down to the rail horse with the 1. And again, you're looking at a horse, third start off the layoff. And the last start was very good. This is a horse that if we get some speed and sets up, and we know we like to look for closers on turf races, this is a horse that's going to have the rail, comes from behind. The question's going to be, is this going to be a trip that Joel Rosario, who is one of the most patient jockeys in the country, he doesn't panic when he's down inside. He can get a ground-saving trip in here, Sig, and if he elects to come up the rail and it opens for him, saving a lot of ground, this is a horse that could upset the apple cart at a little bit of a price at 9-2, and that's why I did go 3 deep in here, but the horse may be making that move wide through the turn, and we know what happens there. You're subject to pace, you're losing ground in the turn and everything else, but if we get honest fractions and they're closing at the end, you will see the 1 horse flying. So for me, I went in race 8, 4, 7, 1. We talked about the stake race, the Vosburgh race 9 in detail. We didn't give our actual picks in that race. Sig, how deep are you going in that Vosburgh?
I went 2 deep in here, Marco. I used the 5 Forense Fire and the 2 Funny Guy. I'm looking at my notes right now. I still have the 6 on there, which is the horse I eliminated. They cut the price down. It's going to come back to kick me in the ass.
All right. Well, I went 3 deep, and I went with the 6 on top. For me, that is my top choice in race 9. And we went with the 1 True Timber and then the 5 Firenze Fire. 3 deep for me in race 9. Moving to the 10th and final. And, Sig, you get to that last race. It's, a mile and a 16th on the turf. It is a claiming race, 30,000 claimers. You got horses that are dropping in prices, horses that are going up in claiming price. It is all over the field. I could have went easily 5-6 deep in here. I had to trim it down to 4, and I landed on the 11 horse in this race. I went to the outside, and we've got a lot of horses in here, so let me get to the 11 horse, and that horse is Barley One, and this is a horse for me. I'm looking at reported as a gelding last time out. Didn't seem to help him in that one. Now dropping down in class, putting this horse in for 30,000. Got Johnny V up. This is a spot where this horse, I'm looking for a price here. As I said, I went deep. He's going to be 7-2 in the morning line, but off of that last start, I don't see him getting a lot of action at the window unless they pick up on, hey, that was the first time gelding last time out. Also was he's dropping in class. Do you see this horse? Do you have him on your ticket?
I did use the Barley One. I usually went 3 deep in here. He was my second choice in this race.
The other horses I went with, and then I'll let you talk about yours. I went 11, 2, 3, 8. I went 4 deep, and as I said, I very easily could have went 5 or 6 deep in this race. The 2 horse is going to get a good trip inside. This is a horse, again, you're looking at not one of the bigger name jockeys in here. So, again, 9-2 morning line. But if it gets there, I think this is a horse that's going to go off higher than 9-2. But I think it's going to get a good inside ground-saving trip. And these claiming races can be very competitive, Sig. It all sometimes comes down to which horse gets the best trip. A lot of times a horse will lay over a field and they can compensate for a bad trip and so forth. In this one, I think these horses, the horse that wins is going to have the cleanest trip of all.
Right, Marco. We see it almost every week with our pick 4s, and we talk about it on the show. The last race of the day is always a crapshoot. I mean, we have these are not winners of 2. So all these horses have broke maiden and not won another race. One of them is going to go home with a second win of their career here on Saturday, and it could blow up our pick 4 tickets. It's always tough. I landed on, you talked about a little bit, the 2. Albie is my top choice in here. Luis Cardenas, an apprentice jock, is riding for Carlos Martin. I like the fact that he's dropping back in the claiming company. They tried allowances the last couple races, and while he was somewhat competitive, I think he's going to appreciate the class relief he's going to get in here. Like I said, it's an apprentice jock, but this horse got the gelding ran well at Belmont earlier this year, and I think with the right trip, like you just said, he can close out the day for us. I also used the 11 who you used on top, Barley One, and we also both used the 8, Allied Invasion. It's 5-1 in the morning line, but we have Joel Rosario teaming up with Christophe Clement. We know that's always a dangerous tandem. The past performance doesn't warrant this horse getting consideration, but like I said, it's Rosario and Clement, and then it's a very lightly raced 3-year-old. Only has 2 races under his belt, as we talked about. At 3 years old, these horses develop fast, especially ones that didn't race at 2 years old. So I think Rosario and a well-timed late run could definitely get him there at the wire. So 3 horses deep here, 2, 11, and 8 in my last leg. My ticket is a $48 ticket, guys. It's 10, 7, 5, and 9 with the 4, 1, 2, and the 7. With the 5 and the 2, without the 6, that's probably going to bite me in the ass. And then the 2, 11, and 8, $48 for a 50-cent base wager.
All right, there it is. I have it up on the screen for everybody. They can get that one written down, and I'm going to switch over to mine, Sig. Again, this is the late pick 4 at Belmont. That is races 7 through 10. In the first leg, I went 7-1-9. 7-1-9 in the first leg, and I left off number 5, Hidden Scroll. As I told you, I'm probably going to put a saver ticket if the horse is getting bet. And again, being that the horse is in the first leg, I'll be able to see that, before you put the ticket in, obviously. So this ticket is going in. Obviously, that is my top ticket. I'm putting that in for 48. And if Hidden Scroll was taking some action, Sig, I'm going to have a single with Hidden Scroll with my other 3 legs here. And the other 3 legs are in race number 8, 4, 7, 1, race 8, 4, 7, 1. In race 9, and that is the Vosburgh, the big stake race, 6, 1, 5. And I did not leave off the 5 in that one. And in the final leg, I went 11, 2, 3, and 8. My ticket, I have it up as $48 on the screen. That is a mistake. That is a $54 ticket. Guys, sorry on that graphic. It is $54, not $48. When Sig tweets out our plays tomorrow, of course, he will have it correct. I screwed it up. It is a $54 ticket. But there you have my pick 4. Once again, 719 with 471 with 615 with 11238. And one last time for Sig, 10759 with 4127 with 52 and with 2118. And Sig's ticket is $48. Guys, that has been this week's show. It's been fun once again. Be sure to follow my partner in crime, Mr. Sig Las Vegas. Follow him on Twitter. Of course, check out his daily race selections over at Wager Talk. Sig, what track you covering right now?
Right now, we're doing Churchill, but I reserve the right to go to Belmont if I see bad weather coming towards Churchill.
All right. And for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Marco in Vegas. Of course, check out all of the other Wager Talk shows. Guys, we've got daily live shows all week long. And of course, bet on it. We put that up every Wednesday night. And we come back with a special Monday edition of Wager Talk. Bet on It show. We do that on Mondays, and we cover the Monday Night Football game the day of. Before, we used to do that with the full show, but we wanted to get you more information and up-to-date lines because obviously taping on Wednesday to Monday, a lot of things change, and then we can also kind of recap the weekend for everybody. So be sure to check out Bet on It Wednesdays night and Monday afternoon for Monday Night Football. For Sig Las Vegas, Marco in Vegas, Marco D'Angelo. Check us out. We'll be back with the Pony Pundits next week. Guys, do us a favor. We appreciate you watching the show. If you like what you see, could you give us a thumbs up and hit the old subscribe button? Leave us a comment. We'll drop in and answer any questions you might have, but we truly appreciate you guys tuning in and watching the show each week. Until next week, good luck. May all of your tickets be live and be on the right side of all those head bobs at the finish line. Till next week, I'm Marco D'Angelo. He's Sig Las Vegas. This has been a Wager Talk production, the Pony Pundits.